Hey, welcome to the 2015 college football initial power ratings report. This will be a weekly feature where I give my college football power rating lines and stack them up against the current lines available. We'll use an average of about 8 different shops, some offshore, some in Las Vegas. Give you a general idea of where the power ratings suggest the point spread should be as opposed to where the odds makers and bettors have taken them. We're going to go through Thursday night's games here. First off, let me just quickly describe my power ratings. In football and basketball, I've used these for some 24 years now. It's a necessary tool to keep myself grounded. Plenty of handicappers and bettors use power ratings. Certainly, odds makers form lines off of their power rating numbers. But it's a part of the handicap, part of your handicapping foundation, which, at least in my case, allows me, like I said earlier, to stay grounded. You don't let your eyes get carried away with what they see last. You don't let your ears get carried away with what they hear. You don't also let your eyes get carried away with what you read. Sometimes you can overreact. I've learned this over the years. Boy, I learned it early and made the necessary adjustments. Used to overreact quite a bit to things. You just can't overreact to the media, to one particular game, especially the last game that you saw. And power ratings, the power ratings that I keep have a ceiling to how much I can improve or downgrade a team each and every week, and it sort of keeps you right in line. And you can find a lot of hidden gems using power ratings. You can see odds makers obviously have to cater to their betting public, and they will overvalue, undervalue teams throughout the season. Starts right now, and it'll continue, although lines will get tighter and sharper as the season goes on, but it'll continue all the way through the end of the year. So these power ratings numbers, like I say, they're not a reason to run off and make a pick on their own in general. You don't bet a game off of a power rating number necessarily. Maybe a few instances throughout the year, you may find some where the power rating is just so far off that you have to go ahead and play it. But normally, I use these as my initial base. If I see differences of significant proportion, I'll go ahead and investigate the game a little bit further. They're very good for those who bet opening numbers when the games open on Sunday afternoon. To have your power rating numbers and to have your power rating lines right in front of you and ready to go is a real huge plus. You see how lines fluctuate as soon as they open each and every year. Odds makers and shops take minimum, I don't want to say minimum, but they take less amounts of money. The maximums are a little bit smaller, and they adjust the line as bettors come through. They put up a number and they want the bettors to go ahead and make it correct. So having your numbers in front of you and keeping a good set of power rating numbers, always important. We'll go through these each and every week. For those of you who have a membership, you'll be privy to these numbers right away, right off the bat, each and every Sunday. So if you do go ahead and play opening numbers, you'll be set to go on Sunday afternoon. You'll have 3-4 hours to look over these numbers before you even have to see an opener. So you'll be in good shape there. But let's start with tonight. Give you an idea how this works here. Game 133, 134, South Carolina, North Carolina. Of course, this game being played at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. Power ratings numbers, to me, suggest South Carolina should be a 4.5-point favorite. They opened -1. Obviously, that opened my eyes right away. They've since been carried to where we are right now, -2. Power ratings say that South Carolina presents a little bit of value here. Wouldn't disagree with that. Again, I went through my adjustments and downgrades in the off season as we went ahead and printed the 2015 betting guide and went through all 128 teams. So I come up with South Carolina -4.5 as far as a power rating number is concerned. Remember, important to making a line, if you're an odds maker, is to read the public and anticipate what they're going to do. I think that a lot of people high on North Carolina this season, and oftentimes bettors react to returning starters a little more significantly than maybe those that bet these games for a lot of, who have bet these games for a lot of years and bet them every single week. So I think that my numbers pretty accurate here. Wasn't a reason for me to run off and play the game. Obviously, there is a 2.5 point gap here, but I would look, if you're looking to take a flyer here tonight, I would be on South Carolina minus the 2. Gives us a little bit of value. UNC has the returning quarterback. South Carolina does not. I'm sure that weighs heavily into the odds makers process. South Carolina viewed as a team right now with a head coach that doesn't necessarily care anymore. We know that. I don't believe that to be true. I think Steve Spurrier always cares. Guy wants to win and is as competitive as anybody. So interesting game here, but power rating showed this one to be South Carolina minus 4.5. Current line South Carolina minus 2. Slight value to the Gamecocks of Steve Spurrier. Game 135, 136, Florida International at Central Florida. Central Florida, a team that took a significant hit in its power rating. Obviously, they're rebuilding in a lot of areas this year, and they've had a lot of NFL talent come through in the last couple of seasons. So this is a rebuild for George O'Leary. Not as big of a rebuild as you would find in the AAC, because Central Florida is to a point now where I don't want to say they reload, but they don't have as much difficulty replacing starters as other teams in the American Athletic Conference do. They're going to play a Florida International team this season who a lot of people, including myself, are high on. Ron Turner's squad should be better than last year. Power ratings numbers suggested Central Florida to be a 17.5 point favorite. They did open at minus 16.5, so the power rating number and the opening number were pretty much in line, but bettors have really bet this one down to where Central Florida is now only minus 12.5 against Florida International. That's 5 points off of the power rating number, and to me, perhaps people are a little bit carried away, which in opening week, everybody's so excited to bet that they do get very carried away, and it's one of those weeks where you'll see big money shifts. Here we see one of significant proportion. I think the opener was much more in line with where this game should be rather than what we see right now at minus 12.5. And in some cases, you can find minus 12 out there. It could be worth a small flyer on Central Florida here. Remember, the quality of athlete at Central Florida, even though they're replacing a lot of spots here, is better than that of the quality of athlete at Florida International at this point in time. One team is on the little bit of a decline as far as rebuild is concerned. The other on a bit of an ascension. Florida International, as I mentioned, I believe they're a better team this year, but I don't know that the difference is of this proportion. 4 points off the opening number, 5 points off the power rating number. Once again, power rating suggests Central Florida minus 17.5. Current line, Central Florida minus 12.5. We'll have to see how that one goes, but I think we could take a small flyer here on Central Florida minus the shorter price. Oklahoma State at Central Michigan, another game that bettors have really taken and flown with here. The number opened 19. It's gone all the way to 23, 22.5, 23. Now, there's significant weather in these two games that last two that I've talked about, Florida International, Central Florida. You could see rain. Very much could be a reason why the number's gone down, both over, under, and side. So total inside going down in the Central Florida game, total inside going down in the Oklahoma State Central Michigan game, I think due to the rain forecast in each one of these contests. But let's move to Oklahoma State Central Michigan right now, where the number opened at 19 and has gone to 23. Now, it did get as high as 24. Today, it's come back to 23 a little bit, today being game day. But we do see a 4-point move on Oklahoma State since the opener came out. Power ratings suggested Oak State minus 15.5. I thought that the opening number was high. When the bettors carried it all the way to 24, I thought that was incredibly high. understanding that Oklahoma State, once again, I have no qualms or no disagreement with anybody who wants to argue that Oklahoma State is a better football team this year. They are. But to upgrade them to the point of 9 points over the power rating, and of course it's a combination. It's an upgrade and a downgrade here. Downgrading Central Michigan to that point with their quarterback Cooper Rush and their offense, which under the new head coach is going to be extremely fast now, even more up tempo than they were, and they've got a lot of offensive starters returning here. I know that losing Titus Davis, their top wide receiver, has some people worried, but Central Michigan's got some athletes there. I don't know that the line move really was representative of the difference between these two, but that's why they play the game. So power rating suggested minus 15. Oklahoma State currently minus 23. Once again, power ratings tell you that the dog, the home dog, the MAC dog, should be a play here. Total, like I say, it got as high as 59.5 and has come back to 58 and because of the reports of slight rain during the game. I don't know that the rain will hinder this contest incredibly, but we will see. And once again, power ratings say Oklahoma State minus 15.5. I think I said 15 before, 15.5. And the current number right now, 22.5 or 23. Oklahoma State, the favorite. Michigan at Utah. A lot of ballyhoo, a lot of noise, a lot of proclamation of Jim Harbaugh coming into the Big Ten and becoming instantly one of the best head coaches and instantly turning this program around. They're going to have to get past the Utah team here. That's mighty good in its own right. Kyle Whittingham's club had a great season last year. Plenty of people back this year. The opening number on this contest was Utah minus 4.5. Utah in the power ratings were minus 8.5, suggesting that there's value in Utah here, minus the 8.5. Game has gone the way of the power ratings here as bettors have carried the 4.5 all the way up to minus 5.5, in some spots minus 6. So it's climbed upward a little bit. I still think there's some value in Utah. At least the power ratings show that. The 6 or the 5.5 or 6 that we see right now, as opposed to the 8.5, which the power rating suggests. Remember, Michigan, when I was going through the numbers this summer, they were upgraded. Some based on Jim Harbaugh, some based on returning talent, but Utah was upgraded a little bit as well based on returning talent and the type of season that this talent put together last year. So no pushover here. Obviously, last year's game was a strange one. That had a real long delay in it due to weather. The teams left the field, I think, in the third quarter and didn't come back for quite some time. Without looking it up, I want to say it was at least a 1-hour delay, perhaps even more. But Utah in the second or the back end of this home and home series right now, currently a 5.5 point favorite. Power ratings say they should be about 8.5. Small lean towards Utah once again. So far through the first 4 games on the card, power ratings are suggesting to us that South Carolina has some value, that Central Florida carries some value, Central Michigan carries some value, and Utah carries value as well. Game 141-142, TCU at Minnesota, game that was played last year as well. Back end of a home and home here. At Fort Worth last season, TCU wins 30-7. This game opened minus 14. Power rating suggested minus 13.5, so almost perfectly in line with the opening number. Bettors, however, have pushed this thing to TCU minus 16.5. Even though there was a lot of opinion during the summer. I know there were a couple articles written, and there were some media folks a little bit vocal about the TCU defense and how it would have to be rebuilt here. Those worries don't seem to have carried through to the betting community as they've pushed this game from 14 to 16.5. I think what bettors are looking at here is a Minnesota offense which lost their top 2 skill position people from last year and wasn't even a good offense with those guys. And now without them, people wondering where Minnesota is going to get their offense from. However, TCU does have defensive problems. They suspended a couple more guys here tonight, so TCU, although Gary Patterson has been a defensive guru his entire career, They may be a little bit thin on the defensive side of the ball here, so it'll be interesting to see how this one turns out or what the final margin of scoring is here. TCU once again minus 16.5 right now. Power ratings suggest they should be minus 13.5. Slight lean toward Minnesota from the power ratings. One more time, I can't reiterate enough, power ratings are not a reason to run out and make a play. It's one angle of a handicap. I know myself, there are at least anywhere from a minimum of 8 to a maximum of 14 different angles that I look at in each game. Power ratings are the very first one that I see because I have them generated after each Saturday's results. So it's the first number I look at and I investigate from there. But right now, power ratings solely suggest that Minnesota has some value. Duke at Tulane. Duke opened minus 11 here. They've been bet all the way down to minus 7. Power ratings think Duke is 14 points better. Have to argue this one a little bit. I don't understand the movement on Tulane. There is a vast group out there who really does like the Tulane side in this one. I can't find enough reason to go along on that bandwagon. I think the power ratings are much closer to the difference between these two teams. Once again, Duke opened 11, power rating said 14, so the number was very close. Closer, you know, we've gone through a few games here where my power ratings number was more in line with what the odds makers were thinking when they opened these games. Bettors have carried these games in different directions. This, another one of those. Tulane, pretty heavily bet here. Like I say, right now they're a +7 home underdog. Power ratings suggest Duke 14 points better, so put a check mark next to Duke as far as value is concerned in this game. 145-146 Ohio U versus Idaho. Ohio U opened 10. Power ratings said they were 8.5 better, fairly close, but the power rating did suggest that maybe there was some value in Idaho. Folks have seen that because the game has come down now to minus 7. So you're looking at a game here now where Ohio U is a 7-point road favorite over Idaho, and the power ratings say they're 8.5 better. They line up, actually it's the same amount of difference. The 8.5 to the 10 opener was a 1.5 point difference. The 8.5 to the 7 current is a 1.5 point difference. But people have followed the power rating suggestion that 10 was too high. They've carried it all the way down to 7. Once again, Ohio U minus 7 in this game. Power ratings say they're 8.5 better. Very slight 1.5 point lean towards Ohio U. Texas San Antonio, a team that returns hardly anybody this year after returning just about everybody last year. They're going to play Arizona at Arizona tonight. Game opened Arizona minus 32. Power ratings made this game Arizona minus 31. That's exactly where the line is right now, Arizona minus 31. So total agreement between the power ratings and the betting public, real close to what the odds makers had as an opener. Bettors have pushed it down that 1 point. You can get some 31.5s out there as we speak, but this game right in tune with what the bettors are thinking. Power ratings and bettors equally on the same footing here with Arizona minus 31. Colorado at Hawaii late tonight, game 149-150, and in that contest, Colorado opened an 8-point favorite. Power ratings thought they should only be 5, so there was some wiggle room there to move in with Hawaii. The bettors have moved toward Hawaii a little bit because we see 7.5. Not a whole lot of play on Hawaii, but a little bit with the home dog here. So once again, power ratings suggest Colorado only 5 better than Hawaii. The current number, Colorado 7.5 over Hawaii. There is some value here according to my power ratings with the homestanding Hawaii Rainbows. And then, last but not least, in your cancellation, write-in game, however you want to put it, this game was supposed to be played Saturday. It'll be played tonight. Western Kentucky at the very, very depleted Vanderbilt team. Vanderbilt on the offensive side suffered some horrendous injuries through August that cost them a couple of key players. They opened minus 2.5. With the injuries and everything, that game has turned all the way to Western Kentucky now being a 2.5 point favorite. Power ratings thought all along Western Kentucky should have been the favorite. The power ratings that I keep had Western Kentucky a 1.5-point favorite in this game. They are a 2.5-point favorite. The suggestion there from my power rating numbers was that Western Kentucky should have been bet right off the opener. That's what people did. Right now, they are a 2.5-point favorite on the road against against Vanderbilt. One more time, WKU, a 2.5-point favorite. Power ratings say they should be about 1.5, just about in line there. But the money did move the way of the power ratings. So there you have it. Tonight's Thursday night power rating report for the board games. I'll run down very quickly the extra board games for those of you who do play, and you can write these down. I'll try and go slow enough so that you can get them here. The Elon Wake Forest game, power ratings put that one at minus 26.5. The opener was Wake Forest minus 27. Ball State, power ratings had that game listed at minus 30. The game opened minus 30. Stony Brook at Toledo. I'm going directly down in rotation order here. Stony Brook at Toledo. Game opened Toledo minus 25.5. Or excuse me, power ratings suggested the game opened 25.5. Toledo opened at minus 23. A little bit of a difference there, pointing towards Stony Brook. Alcorn State at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech opened at minus 40. Power ratings said minus 39. Numbers pretty much right in line. Here's the biggest difference of the extra board for this evening. Power ratings had Villanova minus 1.5 on the road against Connecticut. This game opened Villanova minus 6 on the road at Connecticut. Huge differential in favor of the FCS team, the FCS road team. Villanova, a top 5 FCS squad with a real good quarterback coming back in John Robertson, but power ratings say they're probably too heavy here. They think the power ratings suggested only a 1.5-point favorite should Villanova be. They opened minus 6. Southern Utah at Utah State. Power rating said minus 29. Game opened minus 30. Cal Davis at Nevada. Power rating said minus 27.5 in favor of the Wolfpack. Opening number was Nevada minus 22.5. 5-point gap there, pointing towards the Nevada Wolfpack. Power rating see value in Nevada. Of course, new quarterback for Brian Polian's team up there after about a 5-year run where Nevada's had tremendous quarterback play out of Colin Kaepernick and Cody Fajardo. This year they start anew, but power ratings do see about 5 points worth of value off of the opener in that Cal Davis Nevada game. New Hampshire at San Jose State. Power ratings made this game a pick. Odds makers opened it up San Jose State minus 2. Once again, power ratings thought it should be pick. Game opened minus 2 in favor of San Jose State. And last but not least, Abilene Christian at Fresno State. Power ratings had this one minus 22.5. And it opened Fresno State minus 19.5. Slight value toward Fresno State in that game. As these games get bet throughout the afternoon, you can go ahead and check them out. That is your power ratings report. The initial power ratings report for college football action Thursday, September the 3rd. We'll be back with Friday's power rating report tomorrow. Thanks for listening.